Hello, this is part 2 of this particular session or a question. We've got this question that we started. I guess you've watched part 1. So this is part 2 and part 2 is starting from C. The question is here. I guess you are able to see the question there. So C is saying, discuss the following properties of Y, account for them as far as possible. So this is a question that we are given. So this is to tell you that in terms of melting point, what can you say about this white solid chloride formed? So what is its melting point? So this is a group 1 metal that is reacting with a group 7. What we are forming is what we get to call an ionic bond, because this is formed between a metal and a non-metal. Straight away, I go to this last question. What type of bonding is shown in Y? That is what? An ionic bonding. That is an ionic bonding. So I answer this one in advance. So even as I'm explaining, I'm also answering these questions. So that is an ionic bonding. Now, in terms of melting point, ionic bonding, you need to know that these ones, this compound Y has what? Has high melting, has high melting point, has high what? High melting point. This is what you need to understand. It has high melting point. It has high melting point because the ionic bond between the metal Y and the chloride ions requires large energy or large amount of energy to break. So for you to break these ones, you need to have high amount of energy. So an ionic bond has got high melting point. If it was a boiling point, would have said the same. It has got high melting and boiling point because the ions or the ionic bond that is formed between a metal and a non-metal requires a lot of amount of energy for them to be broken down. This is what you need to get. So you explain all these things. I may not be able to explain them right here due to space. So you explain them. You say, okay, you explain. This is because you are explaining. This is because. So you say, this is because the ionic, you are explaining. This is because the ionic bond between, so the ionic bond between a metal, so between metal Y and the chlorine, and what? And chlorine requires a lot of energy for them to be broken down. You finish like that. In terms of solubility, what is Y in terms of solubility? So you need to understand that this one is soluble in water. Is what? Is soluble in water. Is soluble in water. You give a reason. Why is it soluble in water? So this one is soluble in water because all ionic compounds are soluble in water. This is what you need to understand. So ionic compounds usually dissolve in water because water is a polar molecule with a permanent dipole. This is what you need to know. This means that when an ionic substance is placed in water, the water molecules pull the positive and negative ions apart from each other. So when this gets to happen, you discover that the ionic bonds of the compound break as a result of the particles wander within the water. So this is something that you need to understand. So these are simple things. So I've told you that because you just need to understand that all ionic bonds, all ionic compounds are soluble in water. All ionic what? All ionic compounds are soluble in water. You explain everything that I've explained. Are what? Are soluble in water. They are soluble in what? They are soluble in water. We now move on to this other question, electrical conductivity. you need to know that this one conducts electricity. It conducts electricity. So we are going to say that it does what? It conducts. So I'm going to say it conducts electricity. This is what I'm going to do. It does what? It conducts electricity. Why? Because this is because you are not supposed to write like this in an exam. So make sure we avoid this. We are not. I'm writing like this due to space. I'm not having enough space. In an exam, you need to prove those examiners that you know what you're talking about. So you need to make sure that you upload all the data that you have. So they conduct electricity because they are made up of delocalized electrons, electrons that are free to move. So what am I going to say? Because, so I'm going to say because of free electrons. Have you seen? Because of free electrons or ions that are mobile. That are what? That are mobile. Or you can just say because they are made up of mobile electrons. Or you can say because of the delocalized electrons. So when I say delocalized electrons, I'm talking about electrons able to move freely. It is just one and the same. So there is they have got the property of electrical conductivity is that an ionic compound conducts electricity because of free ions that are mobile or because of delocalized electrons. So I'm just explaining on one thing using different words. So you can say electrons are free to move, or they are made up of mobile electrons, or because of delocalized electrons. Three explanations talking about one thing. So you pick any that you want. So we've answered the question. This is what you are supposed to know. This is something you have to understand. In an exam, make sure that you tell them that you know what you are talking about. Those of you that wants to join me, I am here to help you get distinctions in maths, chemistry, physics, biology. So this is my WhatsApp number. You can WhatsApp me on my on this number, and don't forget to follow me on Facebook. I want you people to also follow me on Facebook so that we get to be updated on each program we get to do. So this is my official Facebook page name. You can follow me on Facebook, family. Your support will be appreciated. So this is my Facebook page name. You can follow me on Facebook so that you get to see some of the things that you get to do. It's not everything that I get to upload on YouTube or TikTok, but most of the information I get to post them on Facebook. So let's make sure that you support me, you follow me on my Facebook page. If I make a post, you like and comment. Like that, we are promoting each other. Thank you so much.